This is the special meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board set for Wednesday, July 23rd. It was set for 5 p.m. We've waited until 10 past 5 to see if any of our other select board members would join us, but we do have a quorum. Sharon Russell, Matt Getty, and Mary Ashcroft here with Town Clerk Carrie Clark. We're missing Joe DiNardo and Kurt Hathaway. But they may join us. We'll see. Anyway, we're going to proceed. Thank you, Carrie, for providing us with the worksheet that we need to set the tax rate and walk us through.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
So, basically, in years past, I kind of go over what each column represents.
Mhm.
I take information from our March town meeting that the voters voted on and got approved, which in this case, this year, were a couple of things in relation to depreciation amounts for the highway department and for the rec department. They wanted to increase the amount that went into the accounts every time we had a tax payment. And then, let's see, then I also took from our ballot all of the appropriations that the voters voted on in March, which means that, for example, ARC, I think, ARC and
Wonder Feet and the library
and Rock and library, all of those things were voted on. In addition to that, I used the numbers from the ballot for the budgets that were then also passed for each of the departments, because essentially we're trying to back into this is what we need for this year for this town to run effectively. And how do we do that on our tax bill? So that's what we're doing, is we're kind of backing into that. Here's all of our needs, and here's what our town is valued at, which is off a different report that I used from Marcia's office. And that's what we plug into this calculation.
Question.
Go ahead.
On the department amounts, department budgets, they each say with anticipated income. So how does that work?
We actually,
Does that mean you're backing out the anticipated income from the expense that we need to raise money for?
yeah, there was a couple of things that we took care of this year on here. There was extra lines on the calculation sheet because it depends on our general budget and how that works out, if it's a negative or a positive number. And then we would have to anticipate if we were going to be able to cover some of the departments in this tax year. Like if the general had enough anticipated money left over, then it would trickle down into the police department and cover them. And I guess in years past, it actually happened where things were a lot lower rates and it trickled down as far as highway sometimes too. But that's not the case this year. So there's really what I had to do. And if you have
Because
a town,
you move the bond payments up.
I had to.
And I'm fine with that, because frankly, I always thought it was odd and artificial to, first pay general and then do a piece of police. I always thought that was weird.
Yeah.
So I like this much better.
And you're right, Mary. I also had to, in this calculation, account for the new bond payments, the PSB bond. So checking with, I'm not even sure if I finished answering Matt's question.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Let me back up a little bit, but in our town report, that's a mimic of what we voted on in March. And I used the numbers from everyone's budget, less anticipated revenue in some cases, And that's what you were wondering.
So when you
we
say
actually-
with, you're meaning really less than
Yeah.
the anticipated. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So I plugged in those numbers. So, people watching this can't see this, which I wish one day we could get that
Mhm.
happening, but,
Yeah.
it's always available in my office, just in case anyone is listening and want to see this. This is always public information for you to look at and how your tax bill starts out for the year. It's kind of interesting. But if you look on the left-hand column, I kind of start there and go through the town report, which also is the information on here. And we plug in what we're going to anticipate for the local option. And then what is the difference taking that local option out? What were we anticipating for the general income? That's what that 385 number is right underneath. Because together that is our anticipated income for general. And then general's budget is 1.4 that was in the ballot.
Sorry, what? There's invite
Is
video.
there anybody there?
No, I don't think so.
I was just thinking about that technical issue. I thought, well, if you're on Zoom, you could share the screen. And I thought, well, if we are on Zoom, we better make sure.
Yeah.
Since Bill's not here to manage it.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So, these all came from the ballot, the list of articles of what we need to pay for our appropriations. And then you'll see, and this gets back to what I was saying, we have a couple bonds out there now. The new bond and the older Center Rutland bond. I, double checked with our auditor, which Matt and I believe Mary had this conversation in the last select board meeting. And he had great notes, which actually matched my notes, that we already have a little bit of money pooled for the Center Rutland,
Mhm.
bond payment until 2027, I believe it is. So that's why you're going to see, we're not asking for any extra bond money for Center Rutland, in that line, but we do need to ask the taxpayers, some money for the interest and principal payments on the new public safety building bond. And that figure is confirmed with our auditor, and that figure is right there in the calculations. So basically it's the anticipated general revenue and expenses, and then we get a net general of 228. The police is from the town report. The highway is from the town report. The carryover that you see right there is the number that I gave you a couple meetings ago. That was his highways revenue and net of revenue and expenses. So he gets to carry over this amount of money into this year.
But we're
Fire-
not using any of that.
Right.
Okay.
Fire and recreation are from the town report and our ballot.
Mhm.
And then the depreciation underneath that, those calculations come from the column right across from it, on the right-hand side, because those decimal amounts that we increased in a couple of cases on our ballot and that have remained stable for the rest of the departments, that gets multiplied by our grand list number to come up with the number that's on the left-hand side to tell me how much we need to set aside for the depreciations for each of those departments throughout the year. Because every time we get a tax payment, I go in and I make sure that they get their amount of money. So it kind of jolts over to the right a little bit and then you go back to the left. I know it's a little confusing, but it does work in the end. And then on the bottom, is the local agreement. And I believe I said this last year, but I got a better handle of it this year. We are able to be a town to give veterans exemptions on their assessments. And because they don't have to pay education taxes on that, we have to, the rest of us have to help the town raise that amount of money that we're missing from them. And that right there is the calculation for that. I get the figures, two figures from the report that Marcia gives me. 780,000 in homestead exemptions for veterans and 60,000 for non-residential veterans exemptions. And we're using the education rates to multiply that by, and we get a total of 11,750 that we have to also account for in our calculation, so that we're raising that amount of money. If we don't do that, we'd be short that amount of money, because we're not asking those people to do that.
So what's the qualification for that?
For a veterans exemption,
Yeah.
what I understand is you have to have a certain percentage of disability, and it comes in the form of a letter, and you
Okay.
have to prove that
So
amount
this
of
is a
disability.
disabled veterans.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Gotcha.
And then every year they have to, if they get granted that, they have to reapply for that. So it happens every year.
Right.
And we, the town, gives 40 grand off of their assessment. Not every town does that. So we should feel fortunate that we do that for people. I guess that was set up years ago.
So the 780,000 is made up of multiple
Combination.
$40,000.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then I have that list too in my office that Marcia has provided for me. I do have to give my props to Marcia and her crew, because I'm starting to really understand what they have to do. And she's giving a lot of communication because it filters into this. So now I have a list of these
Yeah.
veterans. I have a list of state payments. People can call me now and I can be like, oh yeah, no, I know, I don't have to transfer you. So I think she has done a
Good.
great job with that.
Great.
On the second page, I like this top portion of it because it breaks it down into exactly what we need to raise in taxes for this year for each of those departments. We have the regular departments on the regular departments, like their actual budgets. We have depreciation. We have the local agreement that we have to account for. And then the school is at the top.
Yeah.
And those numbers come from the 411 as well that I have from Marcia. So those are actually, I have to plug in the grand list number for non-residential and homestead, the 3.8 million for non-residential and the 2.9 for homestead. And the rates are given to us by the state. We can't mess with the education rates. And that tells us how much we need to raise to make this happen on the education side of things. So you get a total this year of, we need to raise $13,327,372.99 from taxes. And the good news at the bottom of that page is that filters into the first page of the tax rate here. And it looks like we are going down from last year on the homestead rate and the non-homestead rate. And that is due to two things, in part by our grand list going up from last year, and also the education rate that we are not in control of, that went down significantly. So we're looking at a change in a total tax rate for homestead of 7.46. That's on the decrease side. It went down 7.46. And non-residential also went down by 4.41. So if it's approved, our taxes will go down slightly for this fiscal year.
Mhm. Oh, you mean if we approve this?
Yeah, if you want to. If you want to.
That is good news. Thank you very much.
It is. It's great news.
Even the non-residential went down. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
There's a lot to consider,
Yeah.
but I like backing into a budget like that, or well, I guess you would call it a budget, but
Yeah.
calculation like that.
Here are all of the things we got to pay.
And how do we do that? What can
How do we
to
do
make
that? So we've
with
got
what
that,
we have?
and we have calc right at the top. We've taken 1.3 million because that's local option revenues,
Mhm.
and that's helping reduce the real estate tax.
There
And we
is.
have other income like grants and things like that, and revenues from the town clerk's office and the transfer station. And that all reduces what we need to raise. So, yeah, it is a juggle. People ready for a motion?
To approve.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the tax rate proposed by our town clerk on the worksheets for homestead rate, total tax rate of 1.6501 and non-residential rate of 1.9638 to raise the necessary taxes sufficient to support our town budgets. Any discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 3-0. And I do have the clean one.
Excellent.
I remembered not to mark it all up this year.
And I have plenty of copies if you need them. And then I just made the appointment with my software programmer, as I do every year, to print the tax bills.
Good.
Given that this approved tonight.
Yep.
It will be on the 31st of July so that we can get them out and in hands a month before
That's
our
good.
first
Good.
due date. And so everybody's on board with that. And I think we're very
All right.
close to being ready to go with that.
Okay, so you need to, could you make sure we,
Get signed
all
copies.
of us have copies?
absolutely.
That'll be, thank you and thank you for all of your good work on this. We appreciate it very much.
Again, it seems like this job is a team effort.
It
And
is.
I also give a lot of props to the lister's office as well. And really, it starts in the fall. You know, it's
It
just
does.
kind of a cool
Well,
process
that's
to watch.
us, because we work hard too.
Yeah, you do.
That was the fall part.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What'd you say?
That was the fall part, right? The budgeting.
Yeah, we're the budget folks, yeah.
Alrighty. There we go.
Is there any other business to be brought before this? No, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.